Good morning, I'm Ofer, and today we're going to be making a traditional Jewish challah. So we're going to start by taking, we need some warm water, dry yeast, and sugar. So I'll turn the water faucet on, let it warm up a little bit. Take 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And 1 tablespoon of dry yeast. We add to that almost 2 cups of water. We need 1 7/8 cups of water. Water should be warm but not hot. And we mix it all together. At this point we wait, 5 to 10 minutes, let the dry yeast wake up a little bit and start fermenting. Okay, now that we've waited and the yeast is woken up, we'll go to phase 2. For that we'll need flour, oil, salt, and a couple of eggs. So first, let's add 2 eggs. A little bit of salt. Salt brings out the sweetness actually in the challah. Half cup of oil, just regular vegetable oil. Now we mix it all together. And it's time for the flour. So we take a dry cup and start with a little over 6 cups of flour. This is regular unbleached flour, or you could use bread flour. So this is 6.5. The actual amount of flour that you're going to use is going to vary depending on the exact amount of water that you added, plus moisture, in the house, and maybe the type of flour. But at this point, what we do is we mix it all up. If you want, if it's easier, you can actually put it in a mixer. If we see over here. With a dough hook, and just put it on slow and just let it all mix up. So the purpose over here is to mix it all up, and the goal is at the end, when all the flour and the water is all mixed, the dough has to be still wet and sticky. If you added too much flour or not enough water, at this point the dough gets a little too dry. So next time, add less flour at the initial stage. You can also add a little bit of water at this point, to make sure that it's still sticky and moist. For the next part of our dough making, we need a clean, dry counter. We take the dough mixture out of the mixer, if we mixed it, or out of the bowl. We did it by hand. See, at this point, this one is even a little, drier than usual. But the dough is very, very soft and very sticky. We put flour on the counter and push the dough into the flour so that a layer of flour is attached to the dough. Fold it and push, until the dough is gets more solid, more doughy. Then, if the dough after the initial phase is very sticky, you just repeat that a few times until the dough stops sticking to to your hands. Okay. Now at this point, we start kneading. So we still have a little flour on the counter, and then we fold the dough and knead. The idea is to introduce the last part of the flour slowly in layers. So the dough gets coated with flour, we fold it, and then push it in. And we repeat that. See, as you do that, the inner part of the dough will surface, and then the dough becomes sticky again. Then you just repeat the process. You want to just coat it with the flour, so that only the flour that sticks to the dough stays. You don't want to put large flour at this time, and then continue. At this point, the dough will get really nice consistency. It's not sticky, but it's soft and moist. We take the bowl. We want to clean the inside. So I get a little bit of flour. And scrape the inside dough so that it's not sticky. I usually actually do this at the beginning and put this part as part of the dough. You take the dough, put it in the container. It's best to have a container that is at least twice as tall as the ball of dough, and also 3 times the volume, because the dough, if all went well, will rise quite a bit. Take a nice kitchen towel, cover it, and then put water on top of the towel so that it stays wet, and it'll prevent the top of the dough from drying out. Then we'll put this over here, warm place, and let it rise. Usually it needs to rise, well, it can rise several times. Probably the more time, the better. I usually start making the challah at 7 o'clock in the morning. Let it rise until about 10 or 11. Punch it down, as we'll see soon, and then let it rise again until 1 or 2. Punch it down, and at that point, we'll have to braid it, we'll coat it, and then let it rise again before we bake it. Okay, so we now have waited a few hours. As you can see, from the shape, the dough has risen. So we take off the towel. Keep the towel a little wet so that the top of the dough, see, it's very sticky and moist. And then we punch it down, so without mercy. Cover it up again. Add a little bit of water to the towel so that it's still moist, and then we're going to just let it sit there and rise again. So here we are again. Now this is after the second rising. So it rose really nicely. So now we are getting ready to finish it up and braid it. So we're going to still punch it down a little bit. Then take the dough out. This dough is enough for either one large challah or 2 small ones. We're going to make one large one out of this, and we're going to do a 6 braided challah. So we're going to cut this into 6 pieces. pieces. Then we're going to roll all the pieces to roughly equal length. They're about yay long. Okay, so now we have our 6 strands. This dough came out a little more moist than it usually does, so I'm going to sprinkle some flour on top just to make it a little easier to braid. Now, for the 6 braided, we take 3 pieces, connect them together. These 3 pieces connect together. And now we start braiding. The braiding is, you take the one from the edge into the middle, and then the one before the last on the other side over all the way to the end. Now this one goes into the middle, and this one goes into all the way to the end. And then we repeat this process. And keep braiding it. Okay, until we get all the way to the end. At the end, we just put all of them together. Then we push it a little closer together, and we put it on the cooking sheet, like so. Cover it again, and let it rise one final time. So we are now ready for the final stage. We let our challah rise. We're going to now take 1 egg, yellow only, and we're going to brush the glaze on the top of the challah. Serves main purpose is decorative, makes the challah a little glazier, a little darker, and also helps us coat it with sugar to make it a little sweeter. Yep. For that, we take some sugar, sprinkle on top, and finally decorate it with poppy seeds. Now, challah is ready. Put it in the oven, 350, middle rack, for about 45 minutes or so, until it looks ready. So it's starting to smell really good. Unfortunately, you can't really smell it. And you can see that it's rising and getting a little color. It's not quite ready yet, so we'll leave it there for another 15-20 minutes. Okay, so now the moment we've all been waiting for. Looks like our challah is ready to come out of the oven.